All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Business Blueprints. This is episode 30, and this is going to be a special one. I'm telling you, we got some great conversation here. Special guest, Hugh Rumbaugh. Man, we met how long ago?
It's about 7 years, 7 years.
Say 6, 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so let's get into your journey. But it's funny you said you just closed a project that I met you at.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, we can start there. So we acquired a house in Fox Chapel on a private drive.
Yep.
We'll never do that again.
Yep.
And unbeknownst to us, one of the owners, actually multiple owners on that street, were attorneys. But the one has family that's an attorney that put a lawsuit in play, but never finalized it. So it never came up on title search, never, a bunch of stuff. Long story short, we went down. Numbers were great. Big house, right location.
Big house.
Right. And I don't know if you saw the final, but, you know, no stops, right?
Not even close.
Yeah. So, we're wrapping up, get a knock at the door, like, hey, you can't sell that house. And it's like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like, and six homes on the street, a lot of different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good folks down there I would love to be neighbors with, and there's other folks that I would never be in the same county with.
Sure.
So thank you, Butler County. But we just wrapped it up. We helped pay for a private new road, which was always fun to do at the end of a project 6 years later.
Yeah.
And
so did you have to asphalt it and condition it, and what all went into that?
We were able to sell the home at the end. We, like, in that year that we met, we were on the market, then we had to pull it back off the market. We had over ask, we had full asking price, and then
which
multiple bids. Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. But this fly in the ointment, pulled it back, and we were able to meet another family down the road, super nice family, really good people. They were interested. They heard the story. We were really upfront. The attorney we had retained for this problem, he ended up, I think, representing basically, us, the new owners, and like 2 or 3 other families on the street. So, you had the market share in the issue. Fox Chapel with engineering, water. There's just a lot of water issues down there. Yeah, I mean,
their stormwater control is nuts.
Oh, it's something. So, multiple back and forth between engineers and everything to even get a plan in place to make this happen. And then you have everybody fighting about costs, road construction. Does this need to be a PennDOT highway? Does this need to be a dirt road on a farm lane? Completely.
Who's going to maintain it?
Yeah. So they got the road built, got the drainage in, everything approved. We just signed off, and we're done, man. 6 years later of nothing but headaches. And it was really interesting right up to that point in the 21-year journey of real estate. Like, dude, sky's the limit. We're going. Let's go. Let's win, right? Mm-hmm. Man, you just get kicked. Yeah, hard stop. Yeah. And but it was interesting that this was kind of concluding when you had reached out. And we were talking a little bit about doing this. So I'm like, I can't wait to tell that story.
Yeah, no doubt. Because it's funny. It's like how it started, and then we're here, and and it's weird is like, just like you said, private driveway, I won't do that again. I mean, it's funny. No matter how long you've been in the game, people act like a mistake won't happen, or not even a mistake, right? Just something pops up.
Yeah.
Punches you right in the face. And then it's just like, how hard is this thing going to keep punching?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
There were moments.
Yeah.
There were moments.
Yeah.
I thought for sure maybe this would be the end of us. No doubt. There is moments of that for sure. We had a hard money loan on that one.
That was going to be my next question. Like, how did the financing end up playing out through 6 years?
No. So we were able to settle. We were able to settle with that company, with that family that wanted to buy. We basically insulated them with an escrow account that when the time came, a check would be written and they would not have to worry about any of this. So that time came this year, and it all finalized, which is great. Yeah. They did not have to worry about it. We do what we say we're going to do.
100%.
I know you're about that. Yeah. And, it's crazy though. Learned a lot. I mean, you learn so many things about people, because this life is totally about people. Yeah. And there's some really great people out there. And then sometimes I think there's some pure evil in the world, and that's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah,
So the stress,
and then all the politics that come through the townships and all the BS that comes through that. I learned a lot of that when I got into new construction.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bull crap that runs through these townships, and the way they start to do things, they make up their own rules. They do this, they do that.
Who knows who?
They play, for sure. They play this game, they play that game.
Yeah, when we did that project down there was a guy by the name of Paul Bell, and he was I'm not sure what the title was he had at Fox Chapel, but I would build anywhere he's working again.
Yeah.
Paul was a great guy, so good human, right? Mm-hmm. And then you had other people that were in that building that had other agenda and plans for that space and place, and it played out.
Wasn't on it.
Yeah.
What you did didn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. As long as your moral character and ethics are solid, I think that, good always triumphs. Maybe I'm living in a alter world.
I mean, I think it triumphs eventually.
Yeah.
I think no matter what, the long game of anything you do, good triumphs. Because no matter what, if you're going to do it, just like you said, I mean, we all kind of know the same people. We all kind of do this. Like, the thing about real estate is like, we don't need like a Pittsburgh shitty contractors list or all this Facebook groups now to like point these flaws out of people. Like, we all know each other. And like, if you do bad business, that spreads like a wildfire.
Small town. This is a small town.
Small.
Yeah. I agree.
And like, again, like the same people that were in real estate. I mean, you've been in it longer than me, but the same people that have been in it over a decade, a lot of us, they're all still pretty much in it. And we've all kind of elevated, now we've all been through some of the stuff and we're like, hey man, like this is how it happened to us over here, with this situation.
Yeah. It definitely changes your playbook. There's no doubt about it. You go through something like that, it changes dynamics in the household. It changes dynamics in the business world. We put some things on pause for a few years, which that's probably the one big lesson I would share with anyone listening to this is like, when you're going through something and you think you can't do or take any more, actually start the next project. Yeah. Because hell, I waited, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years before we started the next thing because of the unknown with this. Kind of like a deer in the headlights. I mean, and this one was pretty tricky. I had a number of different attorneys look at this case, and title insurance looked at it. We declined. They're like, you're not insured. And it's like, so the way they put in a lawsuit, you can put it in the front of the office, but you have to finalize it so it gets to the back of the office and makes it to a title search.
Sure.
They left that in limbo for 10 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
you could never find something like that.
You could. I think the way it was explained to me is you'd have to know it was there.
Yes.
You'd have to go looking for it.
Yep.
And you'd have to physically go and like talk to somebody, spend money, a couple bucks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably for $50, I could have solved myself $250,000 problem.
Yeah.
But you don't know. So now when I get to title for a lot of different houses.
I was going to say, how did that change your due diligence?
Completely different process.
For sure.
Like, hey, I need you to check the front of the house too. Like, I'm trying to remember what the name of it. There's a term, lawyers speak term for it that I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's like, hey, I know it's an extra $100. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
great.
Stop down there for 10 minutes, run a search. Like, there's no sense. And then there's a title company that I'll never, I plan on doing this for a while. I think my children, one of my sons may do this after me, and may or may not, you never know. And I can tell you that they'll never get another minute of our business. And it's crazy because they've insured title on a number of those homes in that area. Those homeowners now, when they went to refi, found out some news. I mean, it's really interesting. Like, hey, we don't even want to be involved in that area because we don't even open up the litigation process.
It's weird, man, because we're the same way with building in Fox Chapel. We get inquiries, but I'm like, do you guys understand that your stormwater alone is going to cost you probably $100,000 just to mitigate the rainwater that comes off your roof?
Yeah.
Just because of, the substantialness of how they get into some of that stuff.
Sewer line requirement in Fox Chapel is completely different than anywhere else. Sure. I assume for you. For me, it's night and day different. Like, we need a 6-inch. And this guy's going to show up with a shovel, and he's going to make sure that it makes it to the line the whole way up. Oh, you're going 300 feet? It's going to take him a whole day to check that on both sides. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It's...
also, by the way, we're going to need a big check.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
don't forget to have that ready.
It pays to, you got to pay to play. I get it. I knew what zip code I was going into, and the numbers were more than nice. Yeah. But man, what a wall up at the end. I mean, it's unreal. Let the meter run for a year on hard money, and I was thankful to make those payments. Like, thankful. Like, you're not taking the house. And they're like, well, we know what the problem is. We don't want to insert ourselves into this.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
we don't want to inherit this problem. We're going to let you figure it out.
Yeah, liquidated a couple properties, had to make some moves. It was what it was at the time. we got through it though, and we're better for it. We're stronger for it. It's a heavy bag to carry for 6 years. So I'm happy to let it.
Yeah, because I mean,
set it
again,
down
like
here
the weight of it.
Yeah, set it down on
like
the
you said,
podcast.
because like the problem with things when they go sideways and some of this stuff and they linger is it, like you said, you have a hard time moving on to something else because this thing's just so big in the back of your brain, and you're like, well, if this next thing goes sideways too, how do I even have like even compartmental room for this? Like, I don't even know if I could go on. Yeah, and
it's kind of like a running joke of like leave X dollars in an account just in case this project goes completely sideways and we have to bring that X dollars. But you can't use that money forward, right? You're concerned.
It's parked money.
Right? Yeah. It's like, man, we have to have this in case this happens. If this happens, everything else falls like dominoes. So got to have it.
Yeah.
It's not a fun place to be. I don't recommend going out and doing that.
No, but again, it's so for people listening, that's kind of the reality of it is like, what people don't tell you about is that stuff. There's in a lot of us, I haven't been to extent of 6 years, but I've been in some problems. I mean, and I've paid a lot of money to fix a lot of problems. I think any of us who've done real deals and a good amount of deals or any sort of customers type stuff, you have paid out a lot of money in fixing problems. And that's the reality of it.
I had a good friend of mine who said, if I don't talk to my lawyer enough, that means I'm not doing big enough or large enough business.
Yeah.
And I was like, touche.
Yeah.
I had another guy congratulate me. He's like, oh, this is great. And I'm like, are you nuts?
That's not good.
Yeah. He's like,
not
no,
good
you
for me.
made it. You made it.
No.
Like, no.
I don't. This isn't made it. This is like I'm getting ready to faint here.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I'm glad you got through it, man.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I just wanted to open up with that, get the bad stuff out of the way. But 21 years. How'd you get started? What brought this? Because listen, 21 years ago, real estate wasn't the cool thing to do.
I know, no doubt. And there was no YouTube or
nothing.
we
training
can talk
manuals,
ChatGPT and stuff. Yeah,
none of that.
Okay, so I think it starts with a couple things. Like I remind my wife all the time that like when she met me, I was a pizza delivery guy and a part-time mailman. Like I don't know what your expectations were, but the aim at the target wasn't very high. I was coming out, divorced family, a lot of situations. But the interesting thing about all that is you figure out what you don't want to do.
Yep.
And when I was growing up, there was a gentleman in our town who super nice to me, right? My parents rented from him for, 15, 18 years. He had the cool car, real classic convertible. Mr. Ward was, he was a man of character. You could tell he was a serious guy, but not super serious. Mm-hmm. He was nice to children, which I think there's something to be said for people that are nice to children and dogs.
Sure.
Kind of my thing.
Yep.
But I just kind of watched him, like from a really young age, like, why does this guy have this garage behind our house and these cars in it? Like, just a simple question, right? Yep. And my dad's like, oh, he owns like half the town. And I'm like, well, how do you own half the town? Like, you're young, you start hearing this stuff. It's like, you start putting things together. So somewhere along the way, it's going to sound really cliche to a lot of people that have read the book, but I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Everybody has. I think everybody should.
Yeah, I realized Mr. Ward or one of my buddies' dads was like the dad.
Yeah.
Like, and his dad, my buddy's dad, always made sure like I had summer work or I had, I think of them as mom and dad. And, he's a brother to me. Like they always took really good care of me. They were really my second family. And gentleman's name's Ange. Ange worked. I mean, the dude worked nonstop. He just, he was at Harris Masonry and he worked and worked on weekends and we had weekend work. Like we kids, like we had money. Like we kind of did well in a sense when you're really young.
I think I did better when I was younger.
And he had some rentals. Like, so you start like putting this together, like, oh, there's successful people I know. They own multiple houses. Yeah. My whole goal in life when I was young was like just own my own house.
That was mine too.
Right.
I can just get to the first one.
So I met a guy, actually I went and met a realtor. Like I had 10 realtors that were like this kid, like I was 26. Like no one, it's not like today when you actually meet a serious 26-year-old who has a business plan. Yeah. Was like, hey, I'm going to buy some houses, fix them and flip them and rent them. She's like, I don't know if you can do it, but I'm along for the ride. And Rita has been with me, like she's family at this point. She's fantastic. She took a chance on us. She called me up and she's like, hey, I know you bought your first duplex and you're kind of tapped out resource-wise, money-wise. And she's like, I met this guy. He's a retired Marine. He does hard money loans. And his name was Dave Silliman. And Dave's no longer with us, but Dave was, kind of like you, Chris, right? For you, Chris Mastuka. It was like Dave was my guy. And Dave and I did, I don't even know, 20, 30 homes together, maybe 40 homes before he passed. And, he just took a chance on some kid that like, hey man, I don't know everything yet, but I'll figure it out. I'll grind. I always said I'd work harder than the money would, the meter running. And I did. And, we did well. And, I think with the first 8 years of just like fix, flip, and rental, number one, acquiring connections, processes, tools, all the things you need, we put ourselves in a place where it's like, okay, well, my wife was like, hey, we should build a home. And I'm like, okay, I worked commercial construction at one point. Like I get the building process. I don't know it intimately, but here we go. And so, we put our business on pause and I built our home in like 8 months, which
good time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I did pretty well.
Definitely.
And it worked out really well for us. Definitely challenges along the way.
Nice build-in equity though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll tell you, I had a custom door delivered and it came knocked down.
Sure.
I've never seen a knocked down door in my life. And I'm like, oh, and I looked at my one buddy, he's a really great trim carpenter, and like, you know anything about this? And he's like, apparently we're going to lose the day and build a door. I'm like, okay. So we did, and it's beautiful, whatever. But it's stuff like that. You just don't know everything yet.
No doubt.
I remember when we were digging our storm water drainage in the back, and I'm like, this would be a great swimming pool. Like that's legitimately what it looks like.
Yep.
And writing a check, and that guy comes out for 30 minutes to, like, you're here for 30 minutes, and I wrote that check. Like this is nuts.
Yeah, big one.
Yeah. So got through that. Really, once we moved to Sarver, we had built quite a portfolio, but we had debt, and I don't love debt.
So what does that mean to you? Can you explain what is like, because there's a big debate on debt, right? There's the Grant Cardones, there's everyone who has their own opinion about debt.
I would say this: govern yourself accordingly. I think there's good debt. I think there's bad debt, for sure. My opinion, I'm a little bit more of the Dave Ramsey fan from perspective. Mm-hmm. I tend to drive a truck longer than I should. Mm-hmm. I tend to keep things, I don't know, there's value in things. If you buy good things, you buy something that's worthwhile, you can probably keep it for a while and it'll treat you well. So I feel like a house is the same way, but really what it came down to is managing. Like I didn't want to go to a property manager because we knew we could do it better. Yep. And I also,
I'm the same way. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. And I didn't want my wife stressed about managing 30, 40 clients because that's a pain in the ass too, right? Sure. To be straight up. People have problems. You're managing. It's like managing children or employees, and however you want to look at that, right? So we just ran a report one night, and we're like, hey, all right, what's this look like if we didn't pay the banks? And what does it look like if we paid off all this debt? And like we'd have less people to manage. We'd have less process to manage. We'd have less people, cash flow issues, whatever, per month, or taking somebody for eviction, whatever. We'd have less of that. We'd have less, you won't be worth 10 million, but you'll be worth 5. Okay. Well, you could, right.
But you have all your time.
You have your time.
I don't think people understand what that means.
Yeah. I mean, I'm super small, right? Like it's my wife and I, that's the business, right?
But that's all I want.
Yeah. No, it's like the only way.
You know what I mean? Like, especially for me, like my goal and vision of the rentals is the 1,000 doors thing is the most unappealing thing in the world to me. Because again, I know they're all leveraged.
Yep.
They cannot not be. So for me, again, I'm the same as you. I keep it small. I did not 6-year mistake, but I bought a unit recently that I had to offload because I just bought an Airbnb in Florida that I redid down there. Again, I kind of like the Airbnb stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I bought a basement unit condo in Mount Lebanon. Thought it was a slam dunk. I'm fucking sitting on it. Can't move it. Fully renovated, fully everything. It's at below 200 price point and can't move it. I'm on like month 7 of hard money.
Yeah,
And again, I stepped out of my wheelhouse. I stepped out of my little 9 to 1,000 square foot ranch or Cape Cod that I love to rent on a consistent basis, and this is what I get.
One of the things we did when we looked at this was like, so not all historical construction is the same, right? We bought some older homes, we bought some 1980s homes, 1960s homes, whatever, right?
You found out of the wedding venue.
Oh, man. We can talk about that one. One of the things we did when we looked at the list was like, I looked at it from construction perspective. Like, what am I not going to have problems with for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, right? Like, what's really well built? These are off the table. Like, these are going to hang on. Like, when we build the equity, when we sell, we're keeping this list of homes, right? And it's a small list now, which is great. I'm absolutely fine with it. And I think that's the other part is like, you hear taglines like no finish line, no, whatever. I mean, cool. If that's what you want to do, I respect it.
Yep.
Absolutely, man.
100%.
Everybody's got to have a purpose-driven life. For me, I think it comes back to what you said is like time. We love to travel. We tend to spend a lot of time with our children. I coach sports. Yep. There's a lot of things that I do.
That was always kind of the conflict with this.
Yeah.
Trying to align this was you're very serious about that with your kids, and that was very respectable.
Yeah.
That's why I never pushed the envelope too hard. I was like, hey, man, you'll squeeze me in when you got some time.
Yeah. Listen, I don't, oh man, it's going to be really unpopular with a lot of people probably, but I don't think, so I know you have girls and I know boys, right? I'm raising good gentlemen, and I know that you're raising, would it be good gentle ladies? Good, however you say that. I'm not sure.
Well, my thing with the girls is it's my duty to raise you with respect, discipline, and, to understand what the standard is to our family.
I love that you said that.
That's my goal to them. And we had a family meeting recently, and I had to stop the family and say, hey, listen, girls, I just want to tell you the difference between mom and then there's dad. I said, this is dad's job. This is my job for you. Now, I understand that right now you may not love the idea of this, and neither did I until now that my dad works for me and I work for him and I've seen the journey, and you will understand it when you're older. I promise.
We just, my oldest and I just had a conversation about the standard, and it was really cool. I think raising young men, you have to give them more than they're comfortable with. And I don't see parents doing that. And I know this is a parenting podcast. Sure. I'm not going to get into that, but like I challenge my kids in ways and places that probably make people around me very uncomfortable, right? Like, hey, get on a dirt bike, go do that, right? Hey, we're gonna go through some firearms training. Hey, here's a few moves how to fight. Yeah. Like, let's, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right?
Mike Tyson said it best.
Yeah, I mean, Connor and I had a conversation. He was talking about another family, something he didn't like the way they were doing something. And I said, that's great that you understand that. I said, because our standard is this, they're okay with that standard. Yep. You need to understand that you're setting a higher bar for yourself, and I appreciate you recognizing that, vocalizing it, because kids today don't always communicate the way we love. But it's 100% that. And when the storms came through, look, right or wrong, man, my children were right there with me. Chainsaw's running. I'm like, don't be near a guy with a chainsaw, but you're going to work your tail off. Yep. Like, this is going to be a good leg and arm day. Like, you guys you're athletes. No better workout.
Let's see it.
Yeah, let's see it. And by the way, you're going to get some poison ivy along the way. Like, but
yeah, it was, because I think, again, this was a big portion of why I wanted to have you on, is have these conversations too, because I watch, and the little glimpses, and you're not a big social media guy and all that other stuff, but again, like, I specifically pay attention to certain people's stuff just from conversations. And, for me, that was a big alignment there, because again, my kids will say the same thing. Well, and this is I don't let my kids have phones, period. None. Like, you will not. Now we'll give you a little bit of time if you want to FaceTime your friends, you want to call, and I'm not going to stop you from communication. But, I understand when people try and make that metaphor of like, oh, well, it was Sega Genesis for us. And I'm like, yeah, but I went outside and I didn't, when it was raining, we had that day, and that type of stuff. But, the big conversation with our family is, well, everybody else has phones. Well, that doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong, because here's the issue I have is I barely know how to control myself from the screen. How do you control yourself?
This is a great conversation. So a great example of that is just TikTok, right?
Yeah.
So two things that have occurred.
And I don't even let myself on TikTok.
So I have a 10-minute timer.
Yeah.
So at lunch, I get 10 minutes.
Yeah. But I get sucked into the reels, man.
I'm going to tell you. So what people aren't understanding is that we're being monetized. Like, I work in like an IT side.
Sure.
I work in different learning and development and IT for W-2, right? And what people don't understand is we're being monetized for that screen time, right? Mm-hmm. Now, why I brought up TikTok is, number one, in the United States, if you look at United States TikTok versus China, completely different information, completely different times of operation. So ours is 24/7. It's anyone, the Wild West, right?
Yep.
China, it's all learning, and it shuts off at, I don't know, I'll call it 8 p.m., 9 p.m. I'm not sure what their time is, but it shuts down, right? Because they know it's not good for them. The other thing that's really interesting, most people don't know in TikTok, is that you can download the app, write a list of 10 things you want to learn, And if you sequentially work on that list as you're in the app, it will bring you nothing but those items. So you can train that model to make you smarter on taxes, business, insurance, construction, whatever you want to learn.
That version.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. That's how mine. You open it up right now, you're not going to see some girl on a boat shaking her tail.
Yeah.
It is like a serious tool to me because a phone is a tool. These kids have lost the ability to differentiate between this is a tool, communication.
It's just like a hammer now.
Some sort of entertainment at times, but not meant to be the focal entertainment piece.
Yeah.
In TikTok, the other thing that they've launched in North America, which most people aren't paying attention to, but you never noticed, is in the upper left-hand corner, there's STEM. No one even knows the icon. You click on STEM, I learned about ice. Oh man, I learned about the 4 phases of water and ice and molecular structures the other, like, few weeks back at lunch. And I was like, I'm not smart enough to articulate everything I learned, but dude, was that cool to watch.
Yeah.
You know, and like, oh, that's getting like saved. Like if I ever have to speak about water, right?
Yeah.
And we were just on a trip. We ran some Airbnbs out at, oh my goodness, out in Ohio. And I'm drawing a blank, but basically it's like mountain, like not mountainous, but there's like really cool streams and stuff. It'll come to me before the end of the podcast. But we were talking about how soap works, right? So this article comes up on soap, and I literally group message them like, hey, here's your answer. Like, you know, like straight out of STEM. Like, I think when people stop learning and they stop listening, that's when they impact. Why do I have a 10-minute limit? Well, because our mind is much like this water bottle. As you watch videos, it fills up. If you can't remember the 4th video you watched, it's time to stop using your device.
Yeah.
You're no longer learning as a human.
Yeah.
Just stop, take a break, walk away, a couple hours. But you're not wrong. The way you're raising your girls is smart. My boys have phones. One is an outdoor boy. They're both athletes.
How old are your kids?
15 and 13.
Yeah, so mine are going to be 10 and 8. And it's it's too
totally
young.
different.
Yeah, too young.
Yeah.
You know. But again, I think that's the reason why our alignment works is again, the way I view it is when you have a standard and you raise your family like this, it's the exact way your business operates as well.
Yeah.
It's a it's a horizontal reflection of exactly who you are. And I think that's important.
I love that the kids see their mother and I working through a lot of different, good days, bad days, challenging days, whatever you want to call them. I love that, like at the farmhouse, we have partial Airbnb, we have partial wedding. Mm-hmm. If it's a wedding, we have a different layout in the living room than we do when it's an Airbnb. So we have to move furniture, right? And they move furniture and they get paid, right? Like, let me be clear. And I tend to, like we're doing a house in Butler right now where we had, I don't know, 80, 60 yard dumpster removal of just
That's a lot.
belongings, right? Yeah. Connor, get me like 4 of your buddies that are your age, and I'm going to pay you guys exceptionally well because every time your friend sees me, I want them to be like, hey, when are we doing a house again? Right?
It's good, man.
The opposite where guys are like, oh, I'm only going to pay them $5 an hour. Like, no, go the other way. Yeah. Because when you need something done, man, does it get done.
Yeah, I have a couple kids. I live in a small town, Little River town, and I have a couple kids there. And again, they're not kids, but they're in their 20s now. But again, I pay them very well to do things for me. So when they know I ask for something, they're like, oh, yeah, no, we're going to do it. Yep, count me in.
100%.
Yep, I'm 100%. There. Saturday, you need me all day? Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, part of that. Where we are in Sarver, Butler County again, I made a decision pretty early on that we're not driving more than 30 minutes, 35 at the most, to any project at this point. We just it's me, it's my wife. We have some subcontractors. We have some folks that do things for us. We run a tight schedule, tight business. I still do. I don't do a lot of work, but I do. I still enjoy the work, and that will eventually fade, I'm sure, at some point. But we like the projects. She handles all the design and colors, and we work through implementing it, and I feel like we do.
Are you guys still doing just holds, or are you doing flips too now?
No, we're doing a flip right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we have
because you were mostly holds for a while.
Yeah, we went hard on the holds. We built that. Yep. We built that up, and we flipped every once in a while. It really depended on the house, location, the project. Like to hold. I'm not shy from getting back into that and building that client list. It's more of
where do you have it stabilized at right now?
Well, we've left certain areas. I mean, Harrison Township, Highlands is one of those. I know there's some guys down there making big inroads. Man, I think it comes back to school systems and the support systems of the community. Highlands, unfortunately, is a great area to buy. It's very cheap per square foot, et cetera. It's very easy. building processes, permitting process, very, very nice people. But it's the lowest income in Allegheny County. Yeah. So,
brings those problems.
Yeah, it brings those problems. School districts, schools are still the backbone of community. One could say church. I'm not sure what the numbers are, but I look at that and I think that we're looking at it from a long-term perspective. Like, I don't want to get into this long-term and not want to own this property. So we've pulled back from there a little bit. We pulled out of our own in Oakmont, which sounds crazy, but again, we just made some smart decisions about when and where we sold and being where we are, and then what we're acquiring where we are. So like right now we're doing a fix and flip up in Butler. It was a 4-bedroom, 1-bathroom home, 1.5. Now it'll be 4, 2.5.
Yeah, more ideal.
Decked out kitchen, just open concept, opened up.
So Butler's banging up there right now.
It's doing really well. I mean, we think it's going to do very well.
Yeah, your guys' tax base helped a lot of that.
Yeah. We bought another one in Sarver
That's why we moved to Washington County, was the same reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many reasons I can go through. I mean, it's so easy to do business in Butler County.
It's a little more complicated in Washington, but they're getting better at streamlining. They just still run like it's 1902. That's all.
We still are too, unfortunately. I make the joke like I grew up in Freeport.
Yeah.
Right. Freeport people being Freeport people. If you live there, you get that. Or even if you've moved there, you're kind of like, why the hell are these people that way?
Yeah.
But we bought one in Sarver. We're slowly working through that one. We bought some raw land in the right location in Freeport that we're going to do our first, I don't want to call it a tiny home, but Airbnb focused, smaller home, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, kitchen, living room combo with a loft where, 2 families could come in or one. We really haven't finalized plans, but they can come in. It's right off the bike trail. Yep. So the bike trails are blowing up where we are. Shout out to Chris. She's doing an amazing job with the bike trails up there. Ideally, as we run this schedule and we figure out, costs, right? We're basically putting forward a math equation.
Yep.
And then duplicifying that somewhere. That somewhere might be up near, let's just say the Clarion area, because there's a lot of, just helped a buddy of mine get his camp up and running on Airbnb.
Just a lot of camps.
He's doing really well. Yeah.
My parents have a camp on Ty Nesta and Moore up in the Allegheny. It's just been getting bombed with Airbnb. And, my mom, I don't know. The locals tend to get mad about it and some other stuff, but I'm like, this is just the evolution. This is the evolution of real estate.
Man, there was somebody, Facebook complaint departments, right? I watch every once in a while, and we have this Buffalo Township page, and somebody was bitching about a solar farm going in, and I'm like, look, if you don't want it, buy it, right?
Yeah,
if you guys all want these farms to operate, then buy a farm.
That's exactly,
buy a farm.
We have neighbors, because we build in a lot of places that are already built up. So I'm building in between 2 houses, and they'll be like, oh, we were going to buy that. I'm like, but you didn't.
Right.
If you did, I wouldn't be here.
Think about how many guys always say, like, I don't know about you, after 20 years, like, you'll have a conversation with someone, they're like, oh, I'm going to go into real estate, or I'm gonna. And it's like, man, you're either doing it or you're not.
Yeah, it was weird, man. So, we do a giveaway for our nonprofit every year. And these are usually to help people that are in some sort of financial reserve and they have some sort of issue with someone in the family. But there's always something very similar about a lot of those families, is they always say, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
There's always someone in there that says, I'm gonna. Oh, I'm going to do this year. Oh, well, how do you guys do this? Oh, I'm going to do that next year. Yeah, I'm like, I've never been a I'm going to kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm more like, well, let's just go do this.
I think that's why we've always had the relationship we have.
Let's just do this.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So it's the same people, and they ask me, like, how'd you get into home building? I was like, well, I didn't know anything about it, so I learned it, and I pieced together a team that did.
Yeah.
And then I absorbed all the knowledge.
That's it. Watch, listen, and learn. And then do. Yeah. That's the do.
Very much
I don't understand why.
They very much do.
The do part is like the easiest part, but no one does it because there's risk, right?
Yeah, and it freaks people out.
Yeah.
And coming back to the risk part. So when you come back to the debt stuff, did you pay? Are all your rentals paid off? Is that where you got to? Most of them, I should say now.
Yeah, I would say this way, like.
So what was the roadmap to do that? Was it discipline on backing your life down to something very minimal? Or did you just continue to reinvest nonstop into those to getting them to zero? Because I think a lot of people, again, I just want to hear a different perspective. Because a lot of people tend to say, oh, we're going to leverage them and then we'll use that money by more.
Yeah, but once you, all right, I'm going to address both of those, right?
Yeah.
So the first one is how do you look at it, right? So I think debt, right? So I think like 40% LTV all day, right? And if you have if you have a 3% mortgage,
yeah.
You know, and
my
wife and I still talk about it because like we're at 2.8 and I'm like, we're going to pay this house off. And she's like, why?
Yeah.
I'm like, because we can, you know, like let's just be done with it, right?
Yeah.
I think part of it is the focus was when we sold, we needed to pay the federal government.
Yep.
And that sucks,
Oh,
right? That
terrible.
sucks.
Terrible.
But B, have the discipline because, you know, money is a funny way of spending itself, right?
Yep.
So we were 100% focused on payoff. Like we're paying, pay off. Okay, time to pay taxes, tax paid, off, done. Like, I don't know, 15-month process, we're out, right? So on the residential rentals, yeah, we're 100%, right? And now you have equity, right? Now to address your other problem, right? How are you going to go forward?
You have real cash flow now.
Not only you have real cash flow, but like you have assets. You can get those appraised and you can line of credit that, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a buddy, you know, he helped us through the financial banking part of it. And we, you know, line of credit, like we want to go do something, we can go do it. Yep. Like there's no question about it.
That's what I figured you did.
Yeah. And I mean, so, you know, rinse and repeat. Yep. You'll probably see me do it again, right? Hopefully in this lifetime, kids are getting older with less time needed in, you know, my wife, she may retire at some point here, you know, from teaching and you know, like we may go again. I think the way we go again is going to be a little different. I don't know that I'm not really broadcasting trying to buy old homes anymore. Sure. Like I'm at the point now where I'm looking at land.
What number did you stop at?
Like doors?
Yeah.
I think we were at like 32 or 36 doors.
Yeah, that's about where I'm in that. Yeah. Like, I want to be in that 25 to 30 range. And, you know.
I think, you know, if you have 250, 300 doors, you know, property manager all day, right? Yeah. But again, you're just the quality of the experience I've had, and you know, Jerry, like you know, he just transitioned to that company. Like it's a hard business,
very hard.
And I think that the quality goes down across your portfolio as you have property management, unless it's in-house.
I think your quality goes down,
yep.
And I think your income also goes down.
Yeah, and I think if you're able to do it in-house, that's a different story, right? But if you're you know, it's much like, I don't know if you studied the 80s or 90s, you know, where they the BPO industry was a big thing, right? Business process outsourcing. Yep. We'll send everything to India.
Yep. Well, that's how all this happened.
Yeah, and right, and so you know, you start to see things come out of that. Now that doesn't mean India is a bad place. One of my best friends lives in India. Sure. He's one of the best humans in the world. Yeah. But as a business, you know, they're looking for cheap outsourcing. Yep. Okay, great.
And you're talking about VAs and all the other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a degradation of services across the
Yep.
board when you start to cheapen, you know, the offering to save what, right? Yep. Now, the stress factor, how much stress do you want in your life? Right? That comes down to a question that only each individual human can answer. I'm at a place where, as you walked in, you're like, how you doing? And I was just like, ugh. You know, I don't feel stressed. I feel pretty good. You know, I think come back to like Matthew McConaughey has a talk with, you know, he gave it at Texas graduation, which is absolutely amazing. He talks about the 5 pillars in his life. I don't feel like you can have all 5 aligned all the time. No. It's really hard. Yeah. You know, I was coming down here today and I'm like,
people focus on that and they'll drive themselves crazy on that too.
Yeah. Just let it ebb and flow. Yeah. Life's a wave. Yeah. Kind of ride it.
You're going to have seasons.
Yeah.
Like I had a weekend this weekend. I did kick my entire ass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I'm alive, but yeah.
Sometimes you got to be here to enjoy up there.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
It was all my fault too, but yeah.
You all right? Need a hug?
Nah, I'm alive.
All right. Yeah. I think there was just a point where, you know, we were like, hey, you know, we're tired of paying the bank. You see what you're paying. It's like, this is nuts. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I looked at my mortgage statement. It's crazy. So my Florida Airbnb is 7.75 interest, and I'm paying $2,200 a month in interest. Like, this is insane.
Okay, weirdly, I'm okay with the interest. Yeah. Because I don't want to say it's a write-off because you have to make it to write it off. But 100%. Like I go, all right, you're at 8.
Yep.
That sucks. But you know, same thing with the premise of like wherever we buy land, we'll probably put up, I don't know, 4, 10, 30 of these project homes that we're looking at, and we'll probably run that for 3 to 5 years and, you know, sail off into the sunset, right? Yep. Like that's rinse and repeat. I love the idea of new construction. It's 1,000 times easier. I mean,
is it ever?
I think it is.
There's a reason why I did
yeah, I was
remodeling.
right. I've had people ask about like, would you build our house? And I'm like, ooh, that's not my business. Let me give you Brian's number.
Yeah, managing clients is a different business.
Yeah.
You know, and I have that conversation with people. And Al Farrow was a big one, Build 412. I had him on here, and we talk a lot. And he's like, dude, I'm like, dude, I'm going to tell you right now. There's a couple things about building a house. 1, dirt work. 2, foundations. And 3, the client. If you can manage those 3,
Yeah.
you're going to be okay. But here's the thing. You better be willing to share some money to run a real business with client-based business.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need a lot of pieces to be able to coddle people, to really make that. Because building a home is an experience. You know, now if you have like a family friend that hasn't, you set the expectation of like, hey, you're just going to get a house. You're good. You can do that 1 or 2 times a year, you know, and probably be okay. But if you're going to do it on any volume, you better be focused on experience, and you better be focused on staff, because you're going to need a lot of it.
Yeah. The family that asked me, you know, like, who do you know that you think's the best builder in the Pittsburgh area? I was like, Hemlock Homes, Bryan Bursick. Like, I absolutely confidently can say that, especially with the years that we've watched each other.
Yeah, I had this conversation, man, the other day with our team, and I said to our team, I don't think anybody works as hard as us to get better every day. Every day. I mean, it is an everyday thing of how we're improving. Something improves in our business every day.
That's the no finish line part.
Every day.
That's cool.
Yeah, for us, my no finish is definitely in business.
Yeah.
I don't feel because I love construction more than I love real estate. I'm not I don't align and tell people I'm a real estate guy.
Yeah.
I'm a construction guy. Like, I love construction. Just like you spoke about in the 80s and the 90s, I do a lot of studying. And I didn't know. So when I got into building, I started looking at the original, Ryan, the original Ryan. I looked at, even Eddie Holmes, their original dad, like when he started Eddie Holmes. And I looked at these guys and how they got into the game. And I looked at, all these guys, and they had real integrity. That was the alignment with all of them.
Yeah.
So when I got into building, I was like, I just want to build something honest that, like, these guys even though they don't know me or anything, but I just want to make them proud that, like, this is still being carried.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares anymore unless it has profits and some sort of alignment with a board of directors or some other bullshit that I could care less about. And for me, when I always tell everyone, I'm like, money comes in the form of a return after you gave a great experience. Yeah. That's how you get paid. That's it for me. And for us, it's our alignment with our team is these people, every one of our clients should have a better experience than the last one.
Yeah, that's a great thing to aspire to. I think so we had a really great HVAC contractor. I don't want to say contractor, like he was a friend.
Sure.
Right. And he was older than I was, and he had gotten sick and passed, and I had to find somebody new, right? The quality, going to the market and finding quality, right? And then that Fox Chapel deal, right? Couldn't find a plumber that would come in there, and the ones that would,
but
I didn't even mind the numbers, but like the quality, like that's a problem, man. Like, take pride in what you're doing. Yeah. We always kind of like look at things where it's like, okay, would I live in this home? Like that's a real good litmus test.
I'm very critical on our houses.
Yeah.
I get very critical. I don't go to them a ton anymore just because I'm that critical.
Yeah.
And like, I'll start pointing, even my partner's like, dude, you just got to chill for a minute. He's like,
dude, you show me a $10 million home in this area, I'll show you 100 flaws.
1,000.
Right?
And that could be any house,
right.
But again, my pride is so deep into what we have. I'm like, we should fix that. He's like, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. I had a really good appraiser friend of mine tell me recently, and this is some advice I'm taking to heart. His name's Dave. So Dave, thanks for the advice. He said, it is the sum total of the project, not the individual, drywall screw pop or nail pop, right?
Yeah.
But like the nail pops, you and I, like we walk through, we see the world differently.
Yeah.
You see it differently, and I'm sure you see it even differently. Like,
because again, I put myself in our customers' shoes, man, and I'm like. Because there was a point in my life and like my background and how I grew up and where I've come from. I'm like, are you sure you want me to build your fucking house?
Yeah.
Like, me?
Yeah.
You could have picked
That's
anybody.
exactly why I'd pick you, though.
I'm like, are you picking me? I'm like, this is crazy. But Again, it's, now that we hear from so many of our clients now, and, because my operations manager, who's like the closest person to me, goes through, does all our closing process with them, and she goes through the whole thing. Hey, what could we do better? What did you think about this? What was this phase like? What would you rate this? How do you talk about this? What do you think about that? And then you start to understand why your clients picked you. It's not just a transaction then. Like, hey, understanding why did you go with us? What stood out? What separated us? Because there's not one person that hasn't been like, hey, I just went with you. I didn't look at anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
that would be crazy town.
Stop lying.
Yeah, right.
Like you just spent $1 million with me and didn't ask one other person. Right. Okay. That's your lie. Well, you tell it how you want, but thank you for that.
I think there's an emotional tie to the home because you're going to raise, we're raising our children in our homes, right? And then the money, right? There's emotional, people are very emotional about money. Mm-hmm. We run into problems sometimes. There's a guy, he knows me. It's bad. Like I'll go to closing and meet someone. Like I just sold the home to them and I'm like, hey, great.
Awesome.
I wish you a great life. I run into this guy, two different guys all the time. Oh, I still live in the house. It's great. We love it. I'm like, which house?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. Refresh me. Which one? Like, which house are you in?
It's kind of transactional for us a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. You guys are super excited. We're tired.
Very tired. Very tired.
And
we got to do it again.
And
after you, we're doing another one. After you, we're doing another one.
We're small, like I said before, right? But the process I have in my mind is one's for sale, one's under construction, and one's in acquisition, right? We're just leapfrogging.
Yep.
And if we do 3 a year, great. If we do 1 a year, great. If we do 12 a year, great. I don't have a metric.
That's the way I kind of done with the rentals is if I buy one this year, great. Would I love to? I'd love to buy more for tax purposes. But again, if I'm not going to force deals. I just had this conversation with our sales team today because we have what's so crazy is we have a client that has a $700,000 budget. That's all land and everything. You would think, no way we can't make this work.
Yeah,
the issue is land's $150.
Yeah.
The site work additionals is $50,000. I'm like, then you need a septic. That's $25,000. Right. I'm like, now all of a sudden we only have $550 for a house, and they want X, and I'm like,
throw a macerating pump in there, and you run into rock claws, right?
I was like, oh, we're so close. Yeah. Oh my God, we're just but it's weird. We have to force. I'm like, guys, but we can't force a deal. I'm like, but as a builder and someone with integrity, there's going to be a give and take from the builder and the client. Now we have to find that what's that give and take? Is it going to be some from us and some from them? Let's make this deal align, though. Yeah. That's what responsible real estate should be.
Yeah, I think part of the problem when you go custom, right? Like you've said before, I've listened to you on some things and you're like, there's a million decisions to make, right? Mm-hmm. And people will cry. I'm like, hey, tears. Pick a faucet. Yeah. You have 10,000, this one has a Bluetooth speaker in it. Like, I don't know what your use case is. Maybe you want that one, right? Yeah. And what's nice about when we flip, my wife will design something that is usable, we would use it. Yep. You know what I mean? It's smart design. Yeah. I've shared JLC with you, General Light Construction, some other, things like that where we watch the market, Builder's Pulse. I love Matt Reisinger out of Texas. That dude, the stuff he gets to build, man.
I know.
The stuff, just some of the things he builds. I'm like, I just want to go do that. Yep. He's amazing. Yep. So I don't know. I watch that market, but I think the next move for us, we're going to do something. Probably Airbnb-ish.
I like Airbnb-ish. So I just did my first one. I didn't know anything about it.
It's been good to us.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, Alex from Pittsburgh Property Remodelers and those guys, he did a bunch and he scaled it back a little bit. But, he ingrained something into my brain. He was like, hey, dude, it's all about the experience. Yeah. It's the experience. It's why would they want to come to your place when they can go to a hotel for the same price, get a gym, get a breakfast, get a bed, get a pool. What makes you different?
So my response to that is pretty simple. If you see Airbnb's marketing, their commercials, 30 seconds, even less sometimes. Yeah. And they spell it out. Oh, you're all coming together at a hotel and you all go to a separate room, or you could have this house where you have an experience, right? And our farmhouse is a great example of that. 130-year-old home. Man, that was a shit show to take apart and put back together. Literally,
I watched you battle that thing for years.
Yeah, that was during the loss, the initial lawsuit. Yeah. So we lost a year of construction in just I
remember you touched upon that.
Oh, dude, it was a nightmare. But
plus renovating of something of that age brings its ridiculous amount of challenges.
Yeah, Sable Masonry showed up. Paul's a great guy. Love him to death. Trust him with my children. He's like, yeah, it should be X dollars, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then we got into it, and it's like, I show up the next...
Yeah, X times 2.
2X. And there's just steel all in the front yard. Lentils and beams. And I'm like, Paul, what are we doing? He's like, yeah, I called you last night, and you were in bed. And I'm like, okay, all right, here we go. Like, what are we looking at?
We got to
like,
reinforce this bad boy.
Oh man, there's more steel in there. It's incredible, but I'm glad we did it. Like, you know, it's all worked out really well. It gives a hell of an Airbnb experience. It gives a very, very small boutique wedding experience. You know, the guy that bought 200 acres around us. We bought this 4-acre property off of him. We're now surrounded by some Rhonda homes. So I literally was just messaging a buddy of mine that owns a nursery. I'm like, hey, I need like 150, you know, green giants delivered, and I need them to grow quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Can you put some Miracle Grow in them, get them to 10 foot real quick?
Yeah, I mean, this is the old, like, the Indians used to catch fish, put them in, like, we're going to put a fish in every one of those holes. But, I mean, it's still going well. The community's it's been well received. We were doing some events there publicly, and people didn't quite take to that the way we thought they would. We may have, you know, could have marketed it better, I'm sure. There's a lot of things we could do better. Honestly, the next person, when we do sunset from that business, you know, we've left enough levers that, you know, the next person that has the grand vision and the energy and the financial chutzpah that they want to go after it. Hey man, go after it.
I'm very interested in the new construction Airbnb stuff now.
Yeah.
You know what? I like Airbnb because you can wheel and deal on it. You can change things, you can move things, you can do this, you can do that. I like that. I'm a wheeler and dealer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, I leave no money left on the table. Like, you want to come stay for 3 days during the week and give me lower than what I'm asking? Sure, I'll take it.
Right.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
So like your artwork, you got Steve Jobs back here, right? Like, go create like a Steve Jobs house in California. Or like, you know, I always think like the Beatles album where they're crossing the street. Like I hope somebody, I'm probably giving an idea out there to somebody in England, but like, dude, go put a Beatles Airbnb right by that sidewalk. Like create an experience that people will talk about and enjoy.
So that was the discussion. You know, I started the business years ago, just like you and your wife. My wife did some design, did some stuff like that. And it was harder on this Florida one because we did a lot of the construction ourselves. Like I flew down like 4 of my friends, 5 of my friends, and we banged this thing out in like 18 days. You know,
I love that.
Oh, dude, it was not.
Next time, yeah, put me on the Rolodex.
No doubt, dude. I flew all. But it was an experience we all got to enjoy, dude. Like we hung out for, you know, I had a couple of my buddies there for a week. We were on, you know, it's 90 degrees, but you know, my wife was like, "Oh, you didn't really use a lot of my ideas." I'm like, "Unfortunately, a lot of them didn't work." And she was like, "Well, it just seems very manly." I was like, "Yeah, but there was 5 dudes down there working. That's why it's manly." And she was like, "Well, I just thought it was going to be like, you know, not just like such a." I'm like, "It's a ski house. It's a lake house." I was like, we're in the place where barefoot water sports started. Yeah. Like, so I have a shrine to Cypress Gardens, which was now Legoland and all the other stuff. But I'm like, this is what it is about. It is a true, authentic. I have trick skis from 1963 on the wall that I bought from Cypress Gardens. You know, I bought like the original postcards from 1962. I bought artwork from 1970s of like just that real retro ski vibe of, and I was like, yeah, it's what this is about. It's an experience, you know. And I asked one of our tenants over the weekend, they were like, we just absolutely fell in love with this place. Just fell in love with it.
That's fantastic.
And it's weird because like I freaked out about it because, you know, again, I'm like reading the algorithm, like Florida's fucking tanking, the housing market's fucking shit, and this and that, and
numbers aren't good.
No,
right?
No,
because I keep looking. So.
And dude, like, I was like, I mean, I was this fucking close to back out. And I bought it like, dude, I bought top of market. Yeah. But I called my buddy and mine. I was like, dude, I'm freaking the fuck out. I was like, because dude, I don't usually like, I'm going to have to park a couple hundred. I don't usually park. I like stay and visit and then I move on.
Right.
But like, I'm parking. And he's like, well, how long are you going to hold it? I was like, I don't know. At least 5 years. He's like, then who the fuck cares?
Right. And go enjoy it with your family once in a while.
And that's what I said. I was like, okay, cool, man.
We don't stay at the farmhouse. Yeah. It's 4 miles from us. Yeah. Like, there's no, like, okay, we had those storms and power was out. Like, oh, we could go there. We could, you know, like.
So I'm sure you have generators and stuff at the farmhouse. Or,
I mean, we have access. Yeah. A buddy of mine brought one from Murraysville too, which was great. And I think, like, I don't know, like when we go to do something the next thing we do is something where we want to be with an experience we want to have, right? So the place I was talking about was Hocking Hills. We were out in Hocking Hills. These folks did a Swedish Airbnb, which is a very outdoors, like, so it's like 4 compartments, right? Two living spaces, like bed, bathroom, right? You had like this other area that was like living room, kitchen, and then you just had deck space. And it was really well done. And it did force us to be outside. And the weather wasn't terrible, but it wasn't always great. But we're still outside. And I just love the idea they created an experience that it's manageable enough if the weather's bad, but it inspires you to be outside.
So that was the interesting part. Our first, and I've never done an Airbnb, so this was all new to me. And my first tenants, they were like, we love the house so much, but we love the outside so much more that we really were never inside.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted.
That's good.
You know, so I own a house on the river on the Monongahela, and it's in a very small town. And I did same as you. I had neighbors I would never want to be in the same county with. We molded it over, we smoothed it over, and I turned them into nice people. But I thought they were pure evil. And now you would never even think that ever went on. But dude, it made my life a living hell. I bought a house in between 2 people that have lived there 40 plus years.
That'll do it.
I came in and just fucking demolished the place forever. I was like, I figure if I get this out of the way as fast as possible, they won't get pissed.
Right.
So like 18 months, I just had this place destroyed. So I built a river wall. I did pylons. I did docks. I extended the earth 25 feet out into the river. I created a bank. I didn't want to do that again because, like you said, you talked to your buddy, like, hey, how much is this going to be?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was 5X. And I'm like,
this sucks.
Holy shit, I just spent like $200,000. I didn't even get above the fucking river yet. Oh my God. And, it was way more. I've never done any of that. And I just figured it out, but I wanted that for my family and I wanted that for the experience. And dude, there's not a day that goes by. I look back on that. I regret any of it.
Yeah.
Not 1 second.
Yeah, it drives me nuts that like where we're docked and where you're docked, it's like that's a journey, whether it's trailer or locks. And the lock system now, you can't, you get limited hours. Yeah, I mean it's one of those situations where you guys will post something and I'm like, oh, I'm not even like you guys were barefooting the other day and I'm like, I'm not even in the water yet.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I did. So over the weekend, I'm an idiot, dude. I'm just gonna say it, but I've done this a million times in my life. I went and got my barefoot boat, and I'm talking like this is an original 91 like unicorn boat. Still all original except for the front headlight that my wife and I broke this year that I almost cried about. So I got the boat, checked the oil, put the drain plug in, hooked the batteries up, checked this, checked that. I put it in. I went to run it. I get up to my docks. I'm like, what is this smoking? I look at it. I fucking motors at like 240 for I don't even know how long. I did not hook the hose back up to the water pump, so it was not getting any water. So I think I just cooked. I think it was like a $20,000 mistake. I just cooked this 454 that ran 52 miles an hour stock from 1991 that like doesn't even exist anymore.
What a great opportunity for a new crate motor that
409 now. Yeah, we're going like, 409 big block now, fuel injected if we're going to do it. My buddy's like, you should just go 450. I was like, it's another 10 grand. I don't even have 10 grand. I don't even know what you mean. I'm so upset. I was so upset with myself. I'm like, how could you have done this? I'm like, dude. And my buddy was like, I was going to give you a checklist, but like, oh man, I don't want to be pushy. And well, I'm used to like
you have years of experience. Like this isn't something you'd miss, right? Like we miss things.
Like, I'm newer to the barefoot boats. I was more the ski boat guy. Where like we don't undo water hoses and shit like that. Like, we don't do any of that. These
you
are
just
all
winterize
like,
and
these
go.
are all self-cooled. Like
man, so it's cooked though.
We don't know. I've been on the phone all day trying to figure out diagnostics, and I'm shipping one to Florida tomorrow. And my buddy's like, "Well, don't do that. You need one here." I was like, "But I was like, we're going down from a oil day. That's the whole point of this is to get on our boat. Like, I can't not have a boat. Like,
come grab mine."
I was like, "Dude, I'll ship it back. I don't know. I'll figure it out." But yeah, it's just been again, I got to realize that like it can't ruin life. Like it is what it is. It was a mistake. It was a dumb mistake. It was an expensive mistake. But like, hey,
you ever think maybe like I always I go into a weird place and space in my head and I go, oh, that's stopping me from doing something that would have harmed us.
Yeah, and
like it harmed us because it cost us money on a motor, but like there's a greater harm. Yeah. Somebody the other day was like, oh, you might wind up dead. And I'm like, there are so many things I can think of that are worse than death. Like,
like 6 years of dealing with a private driver.
Yeah, it's close. But I mean, like,
sure.
There's a lot of things. I'm not going to list them here. But, I think about that all the time. It's like, okay, well, this was a problem for us. But like, okay, it stopped something else. There's a reason this happened.
Yeah.
And, I think about the lawsuit that way too. I'm like, okay,
Yeah. It's a funny thing, and I think you're right. I'll tell this story. Last year, we were training for a barefoot event, and we do that every year. And we were out with a couple buddies. We were barefooting, practicing transitions. I hit a log, bench prop. So we go back. I put my boat on the lift. We're up underneath of it. We're changing, but I kept dropping the fucking tool into the river so buddy would go down and get it. And like the universe kept saying, like, just stop.
Yeah, don't fix the boat, right?
Got back out, put a prop on. We went back out. Accident happened, and he died on the boat that day.
Oh man!
But like,
yeah,
it was again just like you said. It was like there was things that were like it was telling you like, hey, we're trying to stop you from something else happening here.
Yeah,
and there's always kind of signs like that. When you start to look at that kind of stuff, and it was just one of them instances where it was you're definitely anything could have happened yesterday. Could have went out. Could anything happen? And you're again that's what I said. I was like, I could cry over a million things in life and business and this and that and what this is everything we wanted.
Yeah,
this is the life we wanted.
Yeah,
this is the life we created. I wanted to be intentional again with my family and all that, and I think intentionality goes, people don't understand it. I think you're very intentional with your kids and your family. I think we're
deeper in that phase than we've ever been.
Yeah, and I think, and that's when real true happiness happens. Where you understand, like, hey, man, I've really put in the work to do it, and now we have it. And now we're going to because I think a lot of times, man, like everyone wants to talk about chasing this dream when they're fucking living their dream. Yeah, and they don't even realize it.
I see it every day.
I'm like, bro, I knew you 10 years ago. You were talking about this shit and you're doing it. Now you're over here complaining. I'm like, bro, you should be thankful. This is what you wanted.
We've had days of that, between my wife and I, where we've talked about something, whatever, and it's like, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So be grateful, right? Yeah. Like try and have gratitude, which we do.
I think the nice thing too is like you talked about a little bit. Your wife still's a teacher, so she has a seasonal job. Yeah, and you still have a job. Yeah. So you're still doing all these things while maintaining because I think there's a question with that all the time. Hey, do I just quit my job and go do this full time? Or I'm like, it's all in what you want to do.
I have so many friends that are like,
why don't you just quit?
Quit. Yeah. Cash your 401k or whatever, right? Whatever that looks like for you. Because, and it's always the same conversation, right? Oh, you're so super talented or you're talented or whatever they want to say, right?
Thank you.
And exactly. Yeah. But like when you do this, keep in mind when you're acquiring homes, whether it's for rental or for fix and flip, unless you're in new construction, every hamburger is not the same. Yeah. And I can tell you that a Wendy's, a McDonald's hamburger, and a Burger King, those three are constructed drastically different with different levels of quality in each one with a different price point. Yeah. So if you think that, like Ray Kroc and the whole McDonald's, if you pay attention, right, you pay attention either to the Netflix or whatever, you pay attention to the business model, it's like, that makes sense for them, right? Doesn't make sense for me or my family to like take on the burden of this. We're watching, we're watching a family do a huge, multi-staged subdivision of new homes, right? Mm-hmm. And the one son I've gotten to know pretty well, and I'm like, hey, your dad's up there, he's 70 plus, and he's doing this, and he's like, I don't even know why he's doing this, and I'm like, man,
it's his identity.
Yeah, but it's when's enough? When is enough, and when is your time?
It's funny though because we have the same thing down where we live. We have a developer who's in his 80s. He's still developing in Peters, and he's worth $300 million. Just lost probably just lost $12 million on a development that got fucked up in Peters. And like, why are you even doing this? He's in the hole himself, putting like sewer lines in still. And I look at that and I'm like,
I'd be barefooting at your place. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I'm like, I don't need $300 million.
The big joke statement right now, because I don't want to be super morbid, but like I don't plan on living forever. Like my lineage is very different, a lot of dementia, a lot of long, like 10-year dementia. Like I don't want to be that way, right? So the joke right now is I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Sure. Right? And I'm living it that way. Yeah. Right? And that doesn't mean like crazy Friday nights and whatever people do. It might mean an early morning of like going out and doing like I still love construction. Yeah. right? And I still love, like, I do digital design for work, and I still love doing that. I don't.
Why would you stop doing what you love?
That's what I mean. I don't know that I could. I don't know that I could stop. I just had a conversation with Jerry Kenna. You know Jerry, and like I was getting my taxes done, and we were talking about artificial intelligence, and I've gotten a whole lot deeper in that than anybody's even aware of.
Yeah.
And I was explaining some things to him, and he's just like taking notes, and I could see it, like, holy shit, like how do you know all this? And like, how do we, and I'm like, yeah, man, like set some time. I'll come down. We'll set it up. Like you could automate all this. Like it's really easy. I'm on our red team, which is basically the test IT team for a bunch of AI at work. And, the stuff we've built already is like insane. And I honestly, I worry I don't worry, but like, I think in 5 years, like I may not have a corporate job anymore. I think a lot of people that may or may not be listening to this, that are on the fence of like, should I go all in? Dude, 5 to 10 years from now, I'm worried about what my kids are going to do.
Yeah, superhuman intelligence.
I mean, we're at a point now where, you used to pay an attorney for $275 to $500, $600,000 an hour, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Dude, that pick an app, right? Pick an AI app. It knows everything they know. The question is, are you smart enough as a human to do the prompt engineering and create the persona to ask it the right questions? So we've hit this point of intelligence, and we're a couple years away from this other super intelligence that I don't even want to get into here.
Yeah, them 2 dudes were on Joe Rogan recently talking deep into that. That was I listened to that twice.
Yeah, and
I was a little freaked the fuck out.
If you're, I know you read, right? Yep. And if you're, I would tell you start putting a lot more time into large language model prompt engineering, persona building, and then optimizing or agentic, right? Agentic AI. Can I get this? Can I get a Jarvis, right? Like I have a Jarvis at home. It's awesome. Like, I'm like, hey Jarvis. Like his name's not Jarvis, but like, hey, I want to know blah blah blah. And dude, it's incredible. Yeah. It's absolutely. If you can harness the power and you know what you're doing, and you've invested your time to learn it.
Yeah, what's wild is our 21-year-old marketing manager is also my assistant, hated ChatGPT, and now she's into it, and she's like, holy fuck, you can refine this thing so much.
Dude.
I was like, here's the thing. It's not that I want this thing to do this thing, but here's the thing. We're not stopping this thing, and if it's going to give me my time back on this, and we can evolve quicker as a business, that's what we have to do, because here's the thing. Everybody else is gonna.
I don't use a browser anymore.
Yeah.
I don't Google. Yeah. People are like, oh, we'll Google it. And I'm like, ooh, like that's almost a weird concept to me.
Because there's a lot of bias in there.
Yeah, and I mean that's the other part. You still need a human to understand what's going on there. But I'm. It's funny because I have like ideas and I have thoughts about what I would do, and I fall into the category of I just don't do them because I'm doing this real estate thing and this other thing, and I'm like, I literally looked at Jerry the other day and I was like, I don't know, I think I'm just going to start a software development company, and like, which is the worst thing to do right now, right? But it comes back to Florida.
You might as well fucking hire people to put in VAs.
I mean, it comes back to like COVID, right? Everybody scared money doesn't make money, right? Like Carnival Cruise Line was like, it's $6. I'm like, we bought Carnival Cruise Line today as a stock, and my wife was like, what? And I'm like, it's at $6.
I bought MVR.
Right. It was at the lowest. It probably will be in our lifetime. Like you're crazy not to have gone all in, right? And I know you're in crypto. We do some crypto stuff, and we're watching it. I'm not super excited about it.
Yeah. For me, it's I don't have enough time to care enough.
Yeah.
But I always look for a dip. I always buy a little dip.
Absolutely.
And I buy hold. And I typically don't.
Same thing. Yeah. There's no reason. I don't get overly emotional either way.
Yeah, I only sell whenever, again, just like you did. You said you have to be smart enough and have the discipline to liquidate a couple properties when it's necessary to offload because something came up. Yeah. That's what these are used for.
Yeah.
If something comes up, then I'll liquidate my crypto market. That's what it's for. If I have an oh shit moment, I got something going on here, I need some cash, like I have it.
Yeah, I mean.
And it makes more than 2% return on my savings account, which you're not even getting there.
The one thing in real estate that I'll say is that like artificial intelligence is not going to replace that.
No.
Right? They're not going to replace skilled, very skilled. If you're exceptionally skilled, right? We're getting to a place that, if your phone's not ringing and you're not getting the rate that you're wanting, like you're not talking to the right client.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's gotten to a point, and I'm okay with that. Like there's people that I pay an exceptional amount of money to for the skill that they have, rightfully so.
Yep.
you talk about people talk about college, and I'm listening to a lot of kids that are going to school right now, and it's like I'm thankful that I'm not hearing about communications degrees or an art history major or something like that.
Just flat out business degrees.
Yeah,
very broad. You have to be very micro now if you're going to go to college.
Yeah, go be a doctor.
Yep.
Nothing
be
wrong
a doctor,
with that.
engineer. Nothing wrong with it. Lawyer.
Yep.
Same shit.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move. But I'm starting to see that tearthepaperceiling.org is a website where if you have a certain set of experience, and you're deep in it, right? Like I'm 20 years deep in my corporate career. I'm going to complement it with AI, right? But I don't really care about what degree you have. You either have the competency or you don't. Yeah. And I think construction and real estate show that.
Yeah.
I think that people that are lacking competency, we see it, like you've said before, where, certain voices bubble up, and, I'm not one to say a lot, but when I say something, it's like, hey, this is an opinion, factually based, right? And I'm not saying everybody should run out right now and dump a bunch of real estate and liquidate.
I just think people need to get very fucking serious on what they actually want.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand that. So I took a couple of our teammates down we have a construction coaching group in the Carolinas, and my coach is my mentor, the same age, but dude is disciplined to a level that I can only respect. And, but what's funny is some of our team went down with us, and one of our teammates was like, dude, it's crazy how many people gravitate to want to talk to you. And I was like, the thing about when you talk to me is like, you're going to come up and ask me how I do things, but I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to ask you, what do you really want? Like I had a guy who I knew from a couple meetings ago, and he slept in his truck. Didn't have enough money for a hotel. Wouldn't tell anybody. Somebody gave him a ticket to come to the event. I'm like, dude, you drove here from Wisconsin, slept in your fucking truck outside of a hotel, did a workout with us, came to a 2-day, and now here you are 2 months later, or 2 quarters later, and you just did $45,000 in business this month. But I asked him, he was like, well, I want to grow a big team. I said, why? Why do you want to grow a big team? Well, I want to grow. I'm like, but is time important to you? Well, yeah, I love my family, man. I love having time with that. I said, then that's going to suffer. I said, but you have to be okay with that. I said, so before you decide, I said, dude, because here's the thing, man, you're a Ferrari right now. You can go do whatever the fuck you want. Me, I'm a barge.
Right.
I turn at a very slow pace now. So my decisions don't come into effect to a year, 18 months down the road. I said, but you got to want that. You got to want to share the money. You can't be greedy. I was like, that's what comes into this. And that's what I tell a lot of people. I think everyone's allured by, these big businesses, and that's not real success. I was like, real success is doing what you feel you want to do. Coaching the baseball team, still doing this. But here's the commonality of the things that you said. I love. This means a lot to me.
Yeah.
That's what people should follow. Because it was funny because I have some family members, and we were at Easter, and it was just like, I hate my fucking job. And I was like, and my operations manager is my aunt, and we were both looking. The next day at work, I was like, I've never fucking felt that way in my life.
Right.
About anything. Because if I don't like it, I'm not gonna fucking do it. Or I'm not gonna put energy into it and settle. It's crazy to me. We have so many options.
I agree 100%. I think that a lot of people have gotten caught up in
a bag.
Yeah.
I'm chasing a bag. I'm like, what are you gonna do with the bag?
But they don't know that either.
Yeah.
So they're gonna chase the same shit.
That's why I always ask people this. I'm like, what do you want? And they're like, what are you gonna do with the money? Because money's only a tool to go create experiences.
I have a buddy that calls them fun tickets.
Yeah, fun coupons.
Right? Right.
Just so you go back to your fucking
right. They're
that
fun
was
coupons.
Wall Street.
Yeah. So I didn't even put that together. Actually, he called it. And
so go on YouTube and type in fun coupons, and you'll see how Leo DiCaprio tries to bribe a.
They're on the boat and he throws the lobster. Yeah. I know the scene.
That's the fun coupons.
I forgot he said.
Right on the way, he's like,
yeah. But when he said that, I was like, man, he's not wrong there. No. And neither's Leo in that moment. But I don't think, if it's up to me and I had to choose between we're going to make another $250,000 on this project, or I could be with my family in Italy for 2 weeks. I'm in Italy.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's my dad died when I was really young. Yeah. So I was 24 when he passed. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think my children would have had the best time with him. He's an interesting, fun guy. He had his quirks.
My daughters love my dad.
Yeah, I would give.
Love.
There's my dad. I'd give it all back. Yeah. Just bring him back for a day.
Yeah.
you know?
And my dad's not a very outgoing, loving guy with me when we grew up, but it's awesome to watch how he is with them.
My dad was hard. Yeah.
My dad's hard.
Yeah.
But now he works with me, and now he's the fucking office favorite.
Yeah, of
and
course.
they're like, we don't know how you're going to turn into him. I was like, he was me when he was fucking 38, dude. I was like, I worked for him then. Fucking savage, you know?
I always say my boys are good gentlemen because of my wife.
Sure.
But they can be absolute animals because of their father.
My kids have the love and compassion of my wife, and they have the determination and drive of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife reminds me often that like she hopes they don't have that drive at times. And I'm like,
it's hard to turn on and turn off.
Yeah. But, you know, kind of back to like whether it's Kobe or, you know, some of the other athletes that I know, you know, you have to be relentless about the pursuit of excellence. And
I think it comes down to that standard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
that's why I always like Kobe. Like you said, when you came into the game as number 8, everybody hated you. You were cocky, but you were willing to learn. And you only asked the greats, how did you do this? Oh, I watched you. I watched you do this. Because that's how I learned. I watch people. I watch them how they have a conversation. I watch arguments to see how they resolve.
Yeah.
Like, how'd that resolve? Even public arguments. I'm a people watcher. I'll be somewhere, my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm over watching this argument to see how this folds out. Because I've watched the whole thing, and I've watched each one of them go around the merry-go-round a few times. I want to see who wins this and how it wins. Because it's interesting, right? It's business. Like, that's how things are resolved. And for me, like, you know, now when I transition from 8 and I'm really close to going to 24, because now you're the one that everyone looks up to. Now you're the one that, like, you're not the beginning phase of it. You're not coaching the people up underneath of you. You're being that rock for them.
Yeah.
And that's important, you know, and you know, for me, it was, I think a lot of this, and that's why I ask these people these questions. I'm like, because listen, man, you will get caught up spinning your wheels for a long time chasing money. Why do you want the fucking money? What difference are you going to make in life with that money?
In my 30s, I thought that was the idea, right?
Yeah.
In my 40s, completely different.
I had it in my
mindset.
20s because of drug dealing. I made a lot of money then.
Yeah.
In my 20s. So I got it out of the way early. But I also went to prison. You know, so that like slowed that down a little bit. But like my 30s, I became a little more disciplined. But I always ask people that, like, when they get into business, I'm like, was there an ego phase for you? You know, was there an ego phase for you at one point?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because
like, is there a point where you got to check your ego on I got the properties, I got the money, I can do this now. Yeah. And there always is a realization where you're like, all right, man, maybe I should just slow the fuck down.
I wasn't real crazy. Like, my wife kept me really.
You've always been a very humble guy, though.
Really grounded. Yeah. I mean, there's things that we could do. There's constant conversations about how we deploy what we have, and like for us, it's time and vacations. Like we do a lot of things that people don't see, that don't hit the reel, whatever. And I think her keeping me grounded has been good. I think that she's also allowed me to adventure enough, you know, that we go, hey, we think we want to do this next, you know, tiny home or home build that's somewhere we want to be, an experience we want to have.
I think that
and
matters.
we want others to enjoy it as well. You know, my buddy that's doing the camp up in, you know, the things he's done for my son, my youngest, like hunting and fishing, like I don't come from that background. This guy's been a tremendous pillar of character and morality for him in that situation to understand it. Yeah. He's a 13-year-old kid that we let him, you know, like, you know, he's a high-powered rifle. Like there's a lot of respect to that, and he does respect it. And I think, you know, show me your friends will show you your future, and surround yourself with good people. But
yeah, I look at it, and I've always understood the aspect and how blessed I am, you know. But I always tell people, like, having money and doing those things is boring if you're going to do it alone.
Yeah,
I will celebrate and do things like we went to Supercross. I bought a box for everybody. I want to enjoy that with everybody. Like, I wanted to enjoy that with everybody.
We were there last minute at the highest seat you could get, right? Yeah. But we were still there.
That's it, dude.
I reminded my youngest that we went, and I'm like, hey, sometimes you don't have to have the best thing. Like, my bike's not the best thing. It's
mine either.
It's a 2020.
Yep.
Dude.
Still runs.
I'm an old man. Like, I'm not ripping.
Yeah, I still got
what are we doing?
I got a 2017 450 still. You know what I mean? My kids got the new stuff. I don't. You know? But like, same with the boats. They're 91s, 90s, 81s, 87s.
But you're still out there doing it.
Dude, I'm having a great time.
I know.
You know? And, you know, again, like for me, it's what I said, like, I want to buy these things because, again, I want to have these experiences with my friends. I want to have these experiences with my family. Like, that is why we're here.
My best friend's buying he just new boats coming in, right? Old boats going out, and we talked about it. And he said the number one driver was the comfortability and the ability to be with his family.
Yep.
And I respect the hell out of that. I think it's the right answer.
I swallowed my pill and bought a fucking pontoon boat. And I at 38, I'm on a pontoon boat already.
Hey, man, it's great to have somebody that has it because then, like, you got the home base.
No doubt, dude. And that's why I said, I was like, it's convenient because I don't care. These kids can get on here and spill fucking juice. I don't give a shit. I power wash it down. It's just like a floating deck. Like, we don't care, you know? And again,
there's seasons for it. Back to your seasons thing. Like, there's,
you know, my next one will be a cruiser at some point. It's me and my wife, and we just want to cook food and, you know what I mean, and have our old friends and hang out and
long weekend, whatever.
Yeah, man. Like, I've learned to just understand that, you know, for me, it's not about big houses. It's not about Lamborghinis. It's not about this. It's about when my daughters and I'm tired and my kids say, "Hey, Dad, you want to come on the trampoline?" that I never say no.
Yeah,
that means something to me. Because these will be gone.
Yeah.
These will be gone. Dude. And I'll look back and say, fuck, man, I wish I would have jumped on that trampoline with them kids that time.
I'm not doing that. I have that feeling. Yeah. Like 13 and 15 now, I'm way more dialed in. Like
15, you're pretty close to
what
being
do you
about
need?
To be, you know,
dude,
it's scary.
The truck I pulled in just had a boatload of work done to it, right? It's an older truck, whatever. Why did I have it done? Well, it's his truck. Like mine's, you know, this is probably the year. And those that know me know, like, dude, I'm still in a 2011. Like, this thing has made me more money than I can even explain to people.
ROI infinite.
Yeah, and they're like, why is that dude driving that thing? And I'm like, do you understand what I can get done with this? It's just a tool to me.
That's it.
It's, you know,
gets me to A, B to C.
Boats
I have a baseline Dodge out there.
Right.
Bottom rung.
Right.
I used to have Denali's. No
Dude,
need. Get to the same place at the same time.
It's transportation.
Yes.
And it's also transportation that's capable of doing something. So I don't know. You just start looking at the world a little differently, and you think like, okay.
That was the big thing I wanted to bring you on. Your mindset's great. It was the first thing I picked up that conversation with you at that house. I've never forgot that conversation. Yeah. Because there was a lot of things you said in that moment, and I was like, man, this dude, that's a good mindset. And that's more what I look for now in people is when I talk to people and I can almost tell instantly, I'm like, I know exactly where you're at.
I think we've done things for the right reasons. Sure. You talked about forcing the deal earlier. We've been in those situations where we're like, we could compromise. We could, you know,
make a little less on this one.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, we flipped one of the Ramparts in Oakmont. We were supposed to get in and out 60 days. We did, right? Sure. HOA hit us for a parking lot, and the furnace and AC was bad. Yep. So, you know, a quick 60-day turn with a nice return, man, that got cut in half real quick, and it's like, shit. Yep. So. Yep. You know, sometimes those things happen, but I think, you know, the moral of the story is like, again, who are you? Yep. What do you want to do? And if you're not doing those things, you should probably take a hard look in the mirror. Yeah,
it was funny, man. Even my brother-in-law and one of our workers, they were like, you bought emotionally in Florida. I was like, I'm not an emotional kind of guy. I was like, what I did is I secured my future because I have a river house here and I have a lake house here. Guess who's retirement?
Summer, winter.
Guess who's done?
100%.
I'm 38 years old and I'm done. I was intentional about that. I was very intentional. And like when people ask me, like, how did you figure all that out? I was like, incremental baby steps. I went down there for 2 years and then I wanted to learn the market a little bit. So I started looking around. Then I realized I wasn't quite sure so then me and my wife and kids flew down, met my realtor. We went and drove around all the neighborhoods. Then I narrowed it down even further. And then whenever one came up, I hopped on a plane the next day. That's called doing.
Yeah. We've been taking trips down there, and Claudine keeps, you know, she's looking at Anna Maria. Yep. We love it. Probably do something there. If not there, like I love Exuma, which no one's probably ever heard of or been to, but you want to relax. That's relaxing, but it's not North American, right? And then she has a gateway to Italian citizenship. And I'm like, okay, worst case when we're whatever age, like maybe it's a place in Anna Maria or Exuma, something in Italy, and we'll downsize what we have here, you know, in the
People
area.
ask me that all the time too. They'll be like, you live in this big house. I'm like, I live in a 1,575 square foot house, for the record.
I will tell you the pros and cons of big houses. Is super great to entertain. It's great to be in. It's some days I walk in and I'm like, wow, like I live here, you know? Let me tell you about when a tree falls in your backyard or mulching and like Mother's Day was planting. She planted 5 hours, 6 hours. Like I pressure washed for 3. Like, we could hire people to do that, but like why?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. We're still.
That's
we're
why
still
I built the outdoor space. You know, I did a beautiful pavilion that's right on the river.
Yeah.
You know, that's where we entertain and we have Sunday dinners. And
Yeah.
I'm a big old school person, man. Like Sunday dinners mean something to me. That's when friends and family get together to have dinner.
Yeah.
Like that's what we do in the summer.
We do that not as often as I'd like. It seems like baseball tournaments or lacrosse games or whatever.
Well, my kids dance and like that's like their
Yeah.
off season in the summer. But like, I mean, typically now it's 6 days a week for them, dude. And they're going hard. And yeah, I don't see my kids all that often during those times. And you know, but that's their dream. That's what they love. But they're dedicated. I mean, they practice, dude, 5-6 hour practices, like 5 days a week. Like it's crazy. And I'm like, hey, man,
That's what it takes to be exceptional, right?
it takes to win.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But we'll wrap up on this. In all of your experiences, your ups and downs, your life, your journey, your family, your fatherhood, everything you've been through, one biggest piece of advice.
Time is the greatest thing you have. You're either going to use it in ways that are meaningful or you're going to let it slip by. And I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah.
Time.
100%. I tell people
Time's
this all
your
the time.
biggest
I
currency.
value my time over my money all day long.
Yep.
All day long.
100%. I appreciate spending time with you
I do.
today.
I appreciate you for getting me in, man. And I thank you for taking some time away from the family to fit me in. It really means a lot. Like I said, you impacted me a ton off that first conversation we had. And I've always kind of followed your stuff ever since just because I'm like, that dude gets it. And it was a pleasure talking with you, dude. It was a great conversation. I thank you for coming on.
Always the respect, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.